Section 14. Examination of belief. Until now, we have been mostly examining the obstacles we face when trying to find maximal meaning in reality. But there is one objective parameter operating in our favor. If time and uncertainty are our objective constraints, truth is our objective asset. Truth helps us reduce uncertainty and make more efficient use of our time and effort. But its best quality is its objective immutability. Unlike everything else, it won't change as we look for it. For this reason, the longer we earnestly persist in seeking truth, the closer we will get to it. The closer we get to the truth, the more likely we will achieve maximal meaning. A full commitment to this ethos is essential, as the totality of our life's meaning is at stake, not to mention everyone else's. Of course, a total commitment to truth is fairly universally agreeable, yet a brutally honest one is very difficult to put into practice. This is primarily because the process requires evaluating beliefs at the core of our identities, including beliefs we might currently find great comfort or utility in holding on to. Although this process can be difficult, it can be made easier by focusing on what we gain by taking it on. The more people that earnestly look for truth relevant to our meaning maximization strategy, the more likely they are to find it. The more truth they find, the more unified humanity can be in its practical execution of their individual strategy, and the better everyone's odds are for achieving maximal meaning. This is especially true on the topic of the afterlife. On both an individual and collective level, considering we have identified attaining the best afterlife outcome as our principal goal, now we need to pick which belief system about it to subscribe to for practical purposes. To clarify why this examination is happening now, the last several sections have been making the case that we should behave as if something like the afterlife exists. This was an important step before discussing any particular belief system about the afterlife, because if someone categorically denies the existence of the afterlife, then there is no logical reason for them to consider any claims about it. In this analysis, we can't really be sure if any belief system is absolutely right, so much as we can only critically evaluate which one seems most likely to be true. Once we make our decision, this doesn't necessarily mean we must dismiss all other belief systems as false, but view them as containing varying degrees of truth. Yet a singular decision must be made, and once it is made, the behaviors it prescribes should be adhered to. This is a very difficult task, as not only are there thousands of mutually exclusive claims about the afterlife, but each one tends to contain equally zealous and steadfast believers. Despite this, we can be confident that whatever the truth is, it won't move and thus is worth looking for. If we can trust that the truth won't change, and know the truth cannot contradict itself, then it seems rational to apply the optimal gambit. While the afterlife as a concept is unverifiable, claims about the afterlife do have some evidence for or against them. With this evidence, we can mentally approximate the likelihood any belief system is true and will help us attain the best afterlife outcome. Immediately, there are some belief systems we can reasonably set aside. Firstly, all non-mutually exclusive belief systems, like universalism, can be safely bypassed due to their risk profile always being net positive. Such systems might teach that everyone will eventually make it to paradise, though some may have to undergo longer trials than others. If a universalist criterion for the afterlife is true, whether I believe in the universalist belief system or not, I eventually get the best available afterlife outcome. On the other hand, if a mutually exclusive criterion for the afterlife is true, I stand much to lose by picking a universalist one. The asymmetry of potential outcomes suggests I should only pick from amongst mutually exclusive belief systems. Furthermore, there are belief systems that are gated by some immutable criterion, like being born into it or being of a certain ethnicity. It goes without saying that if we don't meet this immutable criterion, for example, weren't born with that ethnicity, then evaluating whether or not we should practice it has no worth. We couldn't get in even if we wanted to. What remains is all mutually exclusive belief systems that aren't gated by some immutable criteria that doesn't apply to us. Given the fact that these options must be mutually exclusive, we really can only pick one. However, since there is some evidence for and against each option, we can mentally approximate the likelihood each option is true and make a decision using the optimal gambit. The risk profile of choosing what belief system to apply in our lives matches the multicolored roulette table example perfectly, and so we apply the optimal gambit. It goes without saying that our task is orders of magnitude more difficult than just counting the amount of colors on a roulette wheel. We have to evaluate the truthfulness of a claim we can't verify. However, our brains are excellent at decision-making based on truthfulness, even on minimal evidence and no personal verification. For example, I presume you believe a city named Paris exists in a country called France. If you have never been to Paris or France, you have never personally verified that either exists, yet you believe it exists on the credible word of others. This suggests we don't need to personally verify something to believe it, but we can evaluate the evidence offered by others. Because personal verification is a very time-consuming endeavor, the vast majority of our beliefs are taken from a credible source, only being replaced by a more credible source. The most accurate strategy to attain the best possible afterlife outcome is no different. It is purely a question of credibility based on evidence we can't personally verify, with the belief system we choose being the most credible one per the optimal gambit.